If you've ever played Wreckfest before, you've probably encountered someone using clutch manual. Have you ever noticed how as you shift, or as automatic shifts for you, you slow down some, but the person you're trying to chase down doesn't seem to have this problem even while they're shifting? That right there is clutch manual, and today we're going to discuss it briefly, and why you need to learn it. Let's get started. We'll begin by going through the advantages of automatic, and yes, there are actually some. Now, one benefit of automatic is the fact that you can still actually shift while driving with it. It's just as fast as shifting with manual, but if you forget to shift, it'll do it for you, albeit at probably the wrong time. Do note though that if you shift too early or too late using automatic, the car will try to actually change gear for you, which overall is much slower as you're spending time shifting twice. And in a corner, I've seen this bring players to a stop, so maybe worth avoiding doing this so much. The second advantage is that you can actually brake slightly later using automatic gears. The car slows down a few miles an hour as you shift, so when you come into the corner you're actually going at a slightly slower speed than if you're using clutch manual, and so you can afford to brake slightly later. It's not much later, but you can take advantage of this in fights, occasionally. The same of course applies if you're chasing down someone in a A-class car and you're in B or C class. Another advantage is that you simply don't have to worry about shifting right, at all. This isn't an issue for a player who shifts subconsciously like me, but the experience needed to know when to shift exactly with every car on every track is something that even after 2,000 hours in Wreckfest I've not mastered. So it goes without saying that there is some benefit here. You're paying more attention overall to the race, so you may see things that a player using clutch manual might not see. Of course, with experience you'll notice these things more, or less, but it's an advantage. The benefits of manual gears are quite simple. It's also started raining, so apologies if you can hear that. You first of all get to learn when to shift. For example, automatic may not shift down as you start a long corner, where having some power from the engine would be useful to tighten down the corner, or simply get going again as you exit the corner. You can also optimise shifting in the power band. Automatic shifting tends to change gear a little late. As you'll notice with my Super Venom, I change gear a lot earlier than the automatic does for me, and this means that my power band use with manual gears is overall better. And if you have a car with a very tight power band, like the Sandstorm for example, you're going to be shifting out of the power band constantly with automatic, meaning that you're not getting as much torque as you can out of the low end revs from the engine. You still do slow down a bit, as with automatic, so you can of course brake later too. Overall, hot lapping with manual against automatic, I was a fifth of a second faster using manual. I'll overlay all these races at the end, so that you can see the difference each lap made. Now onto clutch manual, what we should be using. Clutch manual is, in one word, faster. There are numerous ways of using clutch manual, and some aren't as fast as others, so let's explore this and find out why. Firstly though, how is clutch manual actually faster? Well, a player using clutch manual can do what's called flat shifting, basically changing gear and keeping the power down all the time. Notice that when I'm changing gear with clutch manual, you'll hear my engine rev up then back down as the clutch engages, rather than dip and reapply the power as manual or automatic lets me. We can also do something called clutch kicking. This is basically disengaging the clutch from the engine to let the engine rev up, and then reapplying the clutch, which causes the wheels to spin, getting the car out of a situation where the engine might be bogging down for whatever reason, or letting us set off in a higher overall gear without having to shift from first again. This can be unpredictable in higher classes, so do be careful when you're clutch kicking. Last lap we could see I was using all buttons to shift. I think this is the easiest way of using clutch manual, and it's probably going to be contested in the comments, but no, whatever. That's partly down to muscle memory on my part, and you also don't have to change to a less comfortable grip to shift, which might be slightly slower. However, the way we should be shifting is like you see now. This is what we call analog clutch, because you're using the clutch with an analog stick. That kind of says it in itself. In my case it's right stick right, and then we can shift up using either buttons, or in my case right stick up and right stick down for shifting up and down respectively. This makes clutch engagement almost instant with your settings set up correctly. Mine are on screen now, Note that the clutch is set to 5% saturation and 95% dead zone, so any input on the clutch will instantly give me 100% or 0% clutch, making clutch engagement significantly faster. The only real downside to using an analog clutch is that you have to time your shifting correctly. If you already understand clutch manual, you're already doing 2 separate inputs at the same time and you're timing it, but if you clutch in too late or early, you may miss a gear. Simply hitting the clutch again solves this problem, and with my controls you can see how that could lead to accidental shifting a lot, and it does. But once you work with it, it is noticeably faster. Now let's watch the forward lap times and, well, I'll let you decide which is the best for you.